Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The beaten heavyweight Daniel Dubois is out of hospital and has made a statement, so I'll get to that in this video, as well as Joe Joyce remaining with Frank Warren. So Warren has confirmed that Joe Joyce has a number of fights to go, so we'll talk about that too. And also Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, a little bit of back and forth regarding that eye injury of Daniel Dubois. And clearly that has been a focus for fans in the wake of the loss to Joe Joyce. Daniel Dubois had his eye jabbed into submission over 10 rounds. But Daniel Dubois, see here on screen, statement put out on social media. Thank you to everyone who has sent messages of support over the weekend. All my respect to Joe Joyce. He boxed well and won fair and square. I thought I was winning the fight. I tried to fight through the injury, but I couldn't in the end. I'm out of hospital and will wait now for the fracture to heal. I'll be back to prove my doubters wrong and my fans right. #TD. So Daniel Dubois sustaining an orbital bone fracture from reports in that fight with Joe Joyce, out of hospital as he said. And there has been a lot of fan sentiment online, sort of mixed in terms of some people are in the camp that he should have fought on and that the eye injury he should have really battled through to try to see out the fight and see if he could beat Joe Joyce. Others in the camp saying that he did the right thing, couldn't see out of the eye. Clearly it was closed by the time that he took that knee. And I sort of feel, I mean, regardless of your position, if you thought that he quit or not, you do have a situation that there was some potential long-term damage that could have been sustained and maybe has been, I don't know, obviously an orbital bone fracture from reports. But him pulling out of the fight could have actually prolonged his career. Obviously, he took his health into consideration, 23 years old. If the eye can recover, he can come again. But if he had fought on, you can make the case that maybe that eye would have got significantly worse. Perhaps it could have been a career-ending or altering injury. So regardless on the position, if you thought he quit or not, in one sense, I think he made the right call for his eye and obviously for the remainder of his career. Not everyone's going to agree with that, and I don't expect you to if you have a different position. But let me know your thoughts on that. In regards to Frank Warren, so he's been on IFL TV, and one of the things that had been spoken about by fans, not too much, but obviously Joe Joyce's promotional status. How long did he have left with Frank Warren? It was an open question, bearing in mind that Joyce and his manager Sam Jones have never really stuck around anywhere too long. So they've been with David Haye, they've been with the PBC, and then come over to Frank Warren, all in the course of 10 or 11 fights or so. So Joe Joyce is apparently going to be with Frank Warren for a longer period of time. So speaking to IFL TV, Frank Warren confirmed that Joyce has quite a few fights to go on his contract, and that he did renew his deal when they made the Daniel Dubois fight. So how long that goes on for, how many fights, unclear, and maybe we won't really hear too much of that. And there could be a number of it could have been as part of that contract extended it by a number of fights, and maybe if he'd have lost he would have been sort of gone sooner. But I guess that's by the by now. He's going to be with Warren, so we know where his sort of promotional ties are. Some people will argue that perhaps that's not the best thing, that he's on a bit of an island with Frank Warren. What sort of fights can Frank Warren get him? But I guess we can also balance that point out by, if Joe Joyce went to the other sort of major promoters, a PBC, or also a Matchroom, for example, would he be the main guy? No, he wouldn't. He would be down on the depth chart, competing with other heavyweights to try get some air and attention. And we have seen in some of those stables that heavyweights who aren't at the top of the pecking order have often struggled to get the sort of fights that they want to be in. So it's kind of, is the grass really greener on the other side? I mean, we have to ask that question. But what sort of fights can Frank Warren get? And some people have made the case, and I think it's a valid one, that maybe there could be some working with Top Rank. Remembering that Bryant Jennings was brought over to face Joe Joyce, that was at the start of 2019, that was working between Top Rank and also Queensbury. Maybe a similar situation could happen again. But again, what sort of fights could he get? Because Top Rank is probably going to want big fights to happen in the United States on ESPN, as opposed to sending over a big marquee or potential marquee fighter to the UK. So if they were to send any guys, maybe it would be of the same ilk as a Bryant Jennings, for example, where they're sort of on the downslide of their career. And then you can sort of think names like a guy like Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam has actually called out Joe Joyce, said, hey, if you need another test, etc., bloody, bloody, blah. So I could see that caliber of fighter being served up, but maybe nothing more. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Joe Joyce should have renewed with Frank Warren, or should he have gone elsewhere? And what did elsewhere look like? Would have prospects in the heavyweight division getting the fights that he wants be significantly improved by going elsewhere? I think it's an open question. I'm not sure really there is a right answer to that one. And Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, a little bit of back and forth regarding Daniel Dubois' eye injury. So Hearn had also been interviewed by IFL, and he'd said, most people would post an x-ray. I'm not a doctor, but it looked like eye swelling to me, not necessarily a fracture. But what do I know? The problem was probably a little deeper than that. And Frank Warren firing straight back, no one's got to give Hearn a copy of anything. It'll be sent to the board. Same bloke who put Brook in with Golovkin. I find it quite disgusting he's even saying these things. So maybe no surprise that there's a bit of back and forth, bad blood. These two never really get on. So, I mean, in terms of what to make of it and what we can take out of it, it is jibes, probably for the sake of jibes' sake. But what do you make of Daniel Dubois, his statement? Can he come again? Joe Joyce staying with Frank Warren, more fights to come on his deal with Warren, so promotionally tied up. Is that a good or a bad move? And also the back and forth between Hearn and Warren. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.